Let's talk about FlexiSpot Air Bloom air purifiers. I have three here, the Y2 Pro, the Y2, and the Y4. I'm gonna plug them all in, look at all the features, and tell you everything to know. Let's get started. Each one of these air purifiers is gonna have a little sticker telling you that you need to remove the cover to take the actual filter out of its protective plastic wrap. This is what I mean. All the actual filters themselves usually are shipped in here. So this is something for any air purifier, is if you get them, most likely the filter itself is actually covered. So make sure that you actually unwrap the filter itself before you use it. I've been testing all three of these and I want to show you which one's which. This is the Y4, this is the Y2 Pro, and this is the Y2. For the Y2, you have a filter on this side, and then you also have a filter on this side. The way the doors go in is they have these little clips like here. Pop them in, and then this snaps in like that. The sensor for the air quality is actually back here, and FlexiSpot recommends you clean that out periodically. There's even some instructions for that right here. And obviously, because the filters are on this side and this side, this is where the air comes in from, and then this is where the air comes out. When it's plugged in and off, you do see this very faint power button. Everything's like touch controlled. There's no buttons. It's all kind of tap sensitive. So you tap it to turn it on. This blue indicator light tells you that the air quality in here is good. It'll change colors based on if the air quality is not as good, but you can see by that reading, everything's pretty good. This button, that's the air filter reset. That will show you, like, it'll probably be lit up when it's ready to change the air filters. This button changes the mode, and then you have an indicator of what everything is here. So this is sleep. So when that's on, there is a little trickle of air, but it's very, very, very quiet. This is the fan speed. It's kind of the turbo speed, and it's real loud, as you can hear. There's no way to turn that down. You have, that's it. And then this A is telling you that this is the auto mode. It'll kind of increase and decrease in its fan speed automatically based on the air quality. And this is the timer. So this will auto shut off in 1 hour, 2 hours, 4 hours, 8 hours, or not at all. In terms of size, I think this is really reasonable for a bedroom or living space. You can easily put this on any type of end table or dresser or floor near a power outlet. And I think it won't take up a ton of space. If you're looking for something like an air purifier and you want to have one that doesn't take up a lot of space, I think this would be your best bet from the series. Here are the specs. And by the way, this is called the Flow Light. The box and even the back says Air Bloom, but the product name may change, may not, but this is, this specific size air purifier from FlexiSpot. For power, if you look at the back, it says it operates at 36 watts. And for noise levels, it operates between 30 and 61 decibels. My guess is the 30 is most likely that like sleep mode that you heard earlier, and the 61 is most likely the turbo mode. So even at the highest, it's still fairly quiet in terms of sound, in my opinion. And the lowest, you can barely hear it. I mean, it's like the ambient sound that you hear from a furnace or some like noise on the street or something. It's sort of like louder than the quietest volume range of this. In terms of the weight, the shipping weight says 7 pounds. It's very light, so keep that in mind. You can really move this around and you shouldn't have any issues picking it up or moving it around, anything like that. And with most electronic devices, keep this in like normal operating range, so don't put this in a sauna. And if you have like 100% relative humidity in your room, you probably shouldn't run this. I think that's probably the case for most electronics. This is the power brick that it comes with. And keep that in mind based on where you want to plug this in. And it has like a standard output here for plugging into the back of your air purifier itself. The Y2 Pro is pretty big, but it does slide on wheels. So this is nice. It's also not very heavy. So you can easily move this around by wheeling it or picking it up, and it's not that bad. All the controls are on the screen here. When it is really bright and sunny outside, I had a hard time actually seeing the controls, but everything is also touch sensitive. So you can press the power button to turn it on, and then you have a whole bunch of controls to go off of. The filter is accessible through the back, and when you look inside, there's pretty much like a hollow cavity of this plastic material. So there's really not much to it. The benefit is the size of the filter and also being able to roll. And if you're looking for something like this, I think it does purify the most amount of square footage out of all three of these. Here are all of the settings. So obviously turn it off or turn it on. And then it needs a minute to sort of calculate the actual air quality inside. And as that's kind of thinking, you have a toggle between PM 2.5, which is the default, or you can tap that area here for PM 10. This is your fan speed. So right now it's on auto. It's not loud. I don't know if you could hear this. So even though it's really big, it's not like industrial sounding like you might expect of something that's this big. If you toggle the fan, you can go to fan speed 1, which in my case was what auto was simulating. Fan speed 2, which is starting to get a little louder. This sounds like something that you'd expect at this size. And fan speed 3. And then you have this sleep mode. See, this is what I mean. It's sort of like really bright and I can't figure out where there we go, where the fan speed is. So that's on auto. So I think the benefit here is because of its size and its power, that 3 fan speed is really good if you need to purify any space in a quick amount of time. This area is the timer. So you have 2 hours, 4 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours, and nothing at all. And this button is a child lock up here. So if you press and hold, that'll put on a child lock and then you can't change any of the settings. And then lastly, this up here will be the indicator when your filter is ready to be changed. And then that button here turns on and off the lights. Obviously, because of the size, this is great for large rooms. So you can put this in a place that has about 625, I think is the listing. 624, sorry, is the square footage that it recommends to help purify. So that could be like a large space. Maybe it's an open office space, or maybe this is like in your basement or on any story of your house or apartment. And it'll really purify like the entire space over a certain amount of time. So it's kind of good to like leave it in a central place or leave it in a corner, depending on how you have things situated, and it can kind of like purify everything instead of needing an air purifier in every room. Obviously, if you do that, keep your doors open to help circulate the air, but this is kind of like gonna help you purify all the air in your living space or office space. In terms of noise, I believe it's like 34, 35 decibels. So it's very quiet, but that's specifically in the sleep mode. So if you kind of have it on in the background, it's not going to really be disruptive. And you heard the sound that comes out of it for all the various different modes. So that's pretty quiet if you kind of like leave it on in the background, which is very nice. And in terms of power, this uses 70 watts. This plugs in with a standard 2-prong outlet. And this is connected to the back and you can't remove it. And by the way, the product weight is about 17 pounds. At least that's the shipping weight. This is the Y4 model. I actually think this model looks the coolest out of all 3 of them. And this is a really unique design for an air purifier in general. I feel like you can kind of have it out in like a living space and it kind of blends in. It doesn't really scream air purifier. These grills will kind of open up when you actually turn the air purifier on. That's where the clean air comes out of. And then there's a lot of filters to kind of go through. So I'll walk through that in a second. These are handles. So this is useful if you want to carry this around somewhere. And they have physical dedicated tap buttons. And then what's interesting about this is when it's turned on and everything is running, your indicator for what your air quality levels are inside are going to be coming through this screen here. So they're actually in here. And this is a good opportunity to walk through all the layers of filters. So you have this main kind of like mesh honeycomb grill. And there's really not much in terms of protection here other than kind of being part design, but also like humongous particles won't be able to go through here. And then in here, you have this screen, and this is good to protect like slightly bigger particles. And then these are also really useful because you could wash them. You have this protective layer that is also washable and is sort of like a vinyl plasticky material. And then that is actually your replaceable filter. So you have a lot of layers to get through, which is nice. Here are what all the buttons do. So to turn it on, you tap once and then these grills open, like I was saying. So this blue indicator light is telling me that my air quality is pretty good. So for the PM 2.5 reading, I'm only registering at like 2. So right now my air quality in here is pretty good. I have noticed that it'll turn different colors as the air quality gets, as it decreases, the color will turn a different color to sort of let you know that something is up. And you can disable those lights by tapping this. And then you have on this button, the same thing, you have an automatic shut off. So this is 1 hour, I won't go through all of them, 1 hour, 2 hour, 4 hours, 6, 8, and 12. And then this, you have different fan speeds. So this is the first level. It's like moderately noisy, but it won't be disruptive. It doesn't really sound super loud. Here's 2. 3. 4. 5. 6. And then back to 1. So it can pump out a lot of air. I think it can really help circulate and clean air in a big space. And you can tell by all the different fan speeds, you have a lot of options. This button will allow you to adjust the angle of these like little louvers. So it's actually good if you want to redirect the clean air in different spots based on the layout and configuration of your room and where you have this positioned. And then this will sort of turn that onto sleep mode, which will create like a really low kind of like ambient, it's cleaning air, but it might be something you turn on if you sleep, if you only want a little bit of air circulating. And then this last button here will kind of make everything automatic. So yeah, here is the red indicator. I must have crossed the threshold as I was messing around of air quality being slightly less, but that's sort of what you can expect if you have bad air quality. So what happens is the light turns red, and especially if you have it on auto, the fan turns on more to kind of like clean the air faster. So I'm reading the manual to give you some stats because they're not on the website at the moment. And here's what I see. So the power is 56 watts, and that's what the rated power is. The standby power is about 1 watt. So if you have it plugged in doing nothing, it's not going to use too much power, which is nice. In terms of the noise, it uses, or it operates at about 66 decibels, and that's in the auto mode. As you heard, it's probably one of the louder air purifiers within the FlexiSpot line, but even on the auto setting, it's really not that loud compared. I mean, you're purifying air, it's a fan, you're taking air in and you're pushing air out. I don't think it's that loud. So that's information for you if you're comparing other air purifiers. For the operating space for like the best suitable area for where you would want this, it operates best in 300 to 516 square feet. So, that's a medium to large size room based on the configurations in your dimensions. Again, like all the other air purifiers, it says Air Bloom, but the website says Flow Plus. But in terms of the weight, I wasn't able to find the weight, but it's not that heavy. I will say, because of the construction, this one is like, it feels more solid than the other air purifier, so this does have more weight to it. It's probably the heaviest of the three, but again, it's not heavy at all. So if you want to move this around, you're not going to really have any issues moving it around. This also comes with a 3-prong outlet, and you cannot remove this from the back either. It's integrated. In terms of the filter replacement, I asked FlexiSpot because it was something I was curious about. If you get like a really popular air purifier, usually you can find branded filter replacements, but with FlexiSpot's air purifiers, I do like them. I think they're really unique. I wasn't able to find like an exact replica of the filters. So when I get the information from FlexiSpot, I'll leave where to get filters, or at least the dimensions of the filters for each model, in the description below. I hope you found this review somewhat helpful and was able to learn something about air purifiers, or at the very least something about FlexiSpot air purifiers. And I appreciate you watching to the end if you got this far, and thanks for watching.